Greetings, everybody. Ashley here, 230 Conversations. We're back, Bafetu. Maybe let me start off by apologizing. We've been away for a very, very long while. And it's not that we've been silent, good people. We've been busy with other equally important things. As you know, our ministry is primarily, or now has focused primarily on humanitarian aid, and we've been engaged in various projects, changing lives in the different communities. And actually want to thank you guys. We want to thank you as a team for all the contributions. Our initiatives are going stronger by the day, and I think we are now seated at every drive that we are doing. We are managing to raise in excess of 100,000 rand, which is going in uplifting, the lives of people in informal settlements. So please keep on supporting us. And we're also going to try and be more consistent with our podcast. Today, I've got a very interesting guest that we have. So before we jump in and pray, I want to take this opportunity to introduce an amazing person, a prolific speaker. She's a facilitator, a social worker by profession. There's a lot of more stuff that I can say, but I'll give her the opportunity to further elaborate, on who she is, what she does. But some of you may be familiar with her. Her videos are always trending online. She's constantly speaking at different engagements, uplifting people, giving us insights into matters that we may not be ordinarily accustomed to. Her name is none other than Thuli Kakaza, and she is going to be my guest today. Thuli, welcome to 230 Conversations podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley.
Quite excited to have you here today.
Scary conversation, though.
It's crazy, yeah. And it is a very, very scary conversation, but a necessary one, though. I think.
Agreed, absolutely.
We need to talk about these things, and what better person than to have you here, share with us some of these things. I've really truncated your CV. Hopefully, Abantu will go and look you up there. I wanted to write it down, but then exam Petiami had only 50 pages left, and it wasn't enough. But we're looking forward to the discussion. And like you say, it's a hectic conversation. Maybe before I even introduce it, let's just close our eyes. We're a Christian platform. Let's pray, invite the presence of the Holy Spirit, because we're going to be dabbling in some very, very serious matters. I'm going to take my hat off, and let's have a short word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for yet another opportunity to come and discuss important matters, dear God. We pray that your Holy Spirit may guide this conversation, and that somebody may learn something, somebody may become changed from listening to our amazing speaker speaking to us today. This is our prayer. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Who introduces it? Do I introduce it? I guess I'm the host.
You definitely need to do the introduction because
we live in very, very interesting times, Thuli. And it's bad, man. It's so bad. And I see it as Umchita today. And even though, I'm not a perpetrator, it's just the burden is so heavy, because our sisters are going through a lot. I have sisters. I have 2 sisters. I have a mother. That's why I'm here. And femicide. Our sisters are being killed over matters that we cannot even, not that there's a justification, but our sisters are dying. And there's an English term to that, femicide. But maybe you can help us out just by unpacking it. Somebody may have heard the word or the term femicide, but they may not necessarily know what it exactly means. Maybe you can take us through that by way of introduction.
All right. That's a tough one. All right. It really is. It's a big issue. It's a huge challenge in South African context because it's happening every day. We'll get into the stats. I'm going to need to even go check my own notes to make sure I'm saying the right things. Because statistically, what I found in preparation for this conversation is that the data is outdated. And the data itself says that it's outdated and that it struggles to capture the whole story in its true totality because many cases go unresolved. Many cases ultimately go unsolved. You could know, but there's no follow through out of a variety of things, which we'll get to. But when it comes to femicide, feminine, female, it means basically the whole narrative around femicide is about the killing and murdering and violating and abusing of women. and girls, and therefore that captures then the children as well. And the main thing is that it's a gender intentional act of murder. Intentional is the key thing around it. It's specifically because you are female or present as feminine. You are therefore allegedly worth killing.
Sure. And I mean, I've studied a bit on intention and, terms in Latin that they'll call dolus directus. So you in your brain, this thing is planned. It sits in your brain. You look at a woman and you conclude in your brain that she's not worth the breath that is flowing through her and that she must, because and so when you say that the stats that you're going to be sharing with us shortly are outdated, so I suppose you say that you're going to be sharing us some scary information, but then it's scarier than what you're going to be presenting.
Accurate. That's exactly what it is. And I like what you said there around basic, because it's predominantly men. It's not just men, but it is statistically predominantly the male species. And so women are technically an endangered species, literally, right now. But I like what you said around in trying to paint the picture that you look at this person and you decide that this particular individual, by virtue of their gender dynamic, is not worth life. And that's precisely the thing. But it also has a lot to do with the mindset, because you offended me. And we'll get into that around, the mental health aspect. But that's literally, it doesn't take much. You just sit and you have this thought in you that this person truly, it is that this person's not worth life. If you don't want me, you're not worth life. Sure. If you don't agree with me, you're not worth life.
You know what happened last year, Thuli? I had the honor of attending the Mail and Guardian Top 200 Young South Africans. At that event, there was a young lady. Her name is, I think, Asonele. She's from the Eastern Cape. I can't really remember Igama Lake, but I'll check it up properly. She was in attendance last year. She's about to be honored for the work that she has done in the gender-based violence space. And what inspired her to enter into that space was the murdering of her sister by her sister's lover, who I think of which they'd been dating for about 4 months or so not even a long time from. Not that there is a time frame that warrants, the deprival of one's life. Noganda, it was quite a famous story about Noganda. And what then happened, interesting, so Asonele is there. She's about to be awarded, right, for the work that she has done, which came of a very traumatic experience of her sister having been married. But what you won't believe is that in that same gathering, there's a young lady, her name was Likhanyane. I can't remember her first name, but I'll check. I think it was Lebo or something. Brilliant scientist. This girl is like doing amazing things in the herbal space and what's not. And she's a trendsetter. She's like, she's the future. That girl was the future of, excellence in our country. She's also there. She's about to be honored. A few months thereafter, she dies in the hands of her lover, and that is the Likhanyane lady. And who would have thought that in a gathering where one is being honored for the work that she has done, and the other one is clapping her hands to congratulate her that at least you are making strides, towards awareness and what's not. Kanti, the one who is clapping her hands, in a very short while, she would later become the victim of the very same experience that Unoganda went through. Gory picture, and I'm sure it's going to get worse. And take us through those stats. What's the story?
It's nothing cute. I'll tell you that much. So statistically speaking, first off, we find that basically the ratio sits, and these stats are specifically South African. So I went through the general view. And from a general perspective and a global perspective, we're sitting as part of the top 5 as far as where femicide is a big deal in our country and the globe. But what gets scary is when we start
checking some of those,
dive into the country. So some of the stats from United Nations with Women, this is generally, most of the data was between 2017 to 2020. speaks that the stats are a lot higher, is what they
Yeah.
say. This is now them in 2020. The stats are a lot higher than what is portrayed. But roughly what it's looking at is that every 4 in 10 women are murdered. This was in 2020. Between 2017 to 2020, it was 4 in 10.
Yeah.
Currently, stats in 2023 from the Begisa data, which basically is a medical health institute that does this kind of research. They're thorough, they're continuous, they're constant. And what was interesting about their data, before I get into it, is that their data, they realize that going with the SAPS aspect is not 100%, because not everyone comes forth
and reports
their cases. And so what they did was go through the morgues. They went to the mortuaries and then asked for postmortems with bodies that were willing to basically check what led to that particular body's death. And they found most of them were by men, specifically intimate partners of those particular women and girls.
But let's pause there for a second.
Yeah.
Let's just unpack intimacy.
Yeah.
We're talking trust here. We're talking relationship.
Yeah.
So this is a person that you would have counted on to say, this is
absolutely.
I'm safe in this person's presence.
Yeah. And yet, that's the very person who takes your life.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, because we're in the stats right now.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, United Nations says it is highly likely that for a woman and a girl, their violation, their abuse, their death is going to be by someone that they know. And then it adds intimately. So it's not just you met Ashley a couple of months ago. It's going to be someone you know intimately, privately, you trust, as you've alluded to. You rely on this person. It's the father, it's the uncle, it's the grandfather, it's the family friend, it's the cousin.
Sure.
And, you know, just to paint an even gorier picture before we get into these ones, I specialize in trauma counseling.
Yeah.
I'm a social worker specializing in trauma counseling and employee wellness. And what I can tell you is, to date, breaks my heart, to date, we still have in society young women who are violated by their cousins. To date, here in 2025, as I sit here.
And
these are things that are happening.
To be specific.
They are bloodline cousins. They are violated by their partners who don't even have a business yet. So we're talking about young people here. We're talking about 19, 20, 21 to about 39. These are the people, statistically speaking, that are the perpetrators, statistically highest perpetrators of this particular behavior, this particular gruesome, violent behavior, might I add, that affects not only the family of the person who's deceased, but an entire community, because umakhelwane phela is part of our entire space. And that happened to her. And it turns out the perpetrator is the person from across the road. What do you mean? So
and it goes beyond, because some people think, no, it's not happening within my immediate vicinity, so why must I bother about it? But it actually affects you, because we talk safety at a great, on a bigger scale.
Yes.
There's also certain, I would imagine, socio-economic, disadvantages that arise out of this thing. And I mean, just from being umuntu bafethu, I mean, how can one be ignorant? And you're thinking to yourself, I would say, I'm completely detached from these things. What happens to your humanity? So you are affected by this. I mean, anxiety and all of it. Everybody should be worried, mindset. And everybody also just thinking about the stats. When you say 4 in every 10 women. And let me say...
That's outdated. It's now 6 in 10.
It's now 6 in 10.
That was 2017 to 2020.
And somebody is probably sitting there, why must I bother myself listening to these statistics? I've never experienced this. It's very far away. Why must I be aware and, take active measures? That 4 in 10 women is not predetermined, which household is going to fall into. It doesn't come with a surname. It does not come with a specific location. And I think it's important that we have these conversations because
So true.
those conversations affect you, they affect me. I'm a young man, I've got sisters, I've got a mother, I've got you, Thuli, you're seated right next to me. I mean, the thought that you're going to be exiting this, setup, and we don't know what's going to happen to you because women are living in fear.
Literally.
I was in an Uber the other day, and it's quite rare that you get female Uber drivers. But I was in an Uber there, and we just started talking, with this lady. Great conversation, and then, she started talking about my profession, and she asked me, "What's the craziest things that you've experienced in your profession?" I share one or two things. Then I ask her, "What about you? What have you experienced?" In my brain, when I'm asking her this, I'm expecting to say, "Oh, I picked up and then or somebody vomited in my car." That's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
You won't believe what she said. Like, the craziest experience was when I was, there was a guy, and we just started talking, just normal chit-chatting. Then as I was dropping the guy off, he reached out and he kissed me on my cheek. And it was so unexpected, I couldn't do anything about it. So I said to her, "That's weird." So now I'm sure every time that you drive as an Uber driver, it's like a scary job for you. She says, "No, the scariness does not come from me being a female Uber driver. The scariness comes from me being a female."
Yes.
I've just shared with you what happened as I was driving. But if I were to share with you my experiences as a female,
totally different picture.
and that's someone's
And
sister.
what's scary about that, I can even humanize that. I remember working in a particular province, because I don't want to make the province look terrible. They're not even in the top 3, by the way, that particular province specifically. But I remember I used to enjoy jogging. I'm big on health, holistic wellness is my thing. So I remember I was taking walks, I was jogging, and from that day I never jogged again, by the way. Nothing terrible happened as I thought it would, but the fact that I was that afraid, I stopped. I took a walk around the block early morning, and somewhere as I was gonna, approach back towards my main area, because it's kind of huge block, modern space, people walk, this thing happens. And as I was approaching, as I turned on the corner now of the main street, I'm going to be going, so probably maybe about 500-meter walk. And there was a guy who crossed the robot further, and then he had joined after I'd already turned. I'm listening to music, and I was like, "Turn down the music. You need to be able to hear. My senses need to be, I need to be alert." I'm thinking, I'm looking at the street. It's around 5 early in the morning. What are the chances of, if something happens, I need to run in the road? What are the chances I'm going to meet anyone in the road? How fit do I think I am to start sprinting? Okay, how are you going to handle this? How do you self-defend? Gonja, what are the things around self-defense? All right, you need to make sure you're listening. You need to, literally, this is me going through this. I start slowing down. I'm thinking, because also, usually they don't want to be obvious. So is this person maybe really following me or not following me? I'm trying to walk fast. This person is like pacing now. And I'm like, okay. So if I run and they start running, exactly where am I going? Because I also don't want to take them to where I stay. How long will the gate take to open? How well am I carrying the keys? Can I stab a person with the way I'm carrying the keys? And these are things that we women live through, right? And, I started walking fast, and eventually I started slowing down, and I acted like I needed to tie my shoes. And eventually passed, because you notice, like, "Sister, are you okay?" Now I'm even more scared, because now you're going to act like you're friendly, but you're going to do something to me. And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm good. Why? Are you good?" And he's like, "No, I'm good too." And he's like, "It's okay. Like, I can see you're a bit unsettled. I'm just rushing to get to work. I'm chasing the next bus because it's down the road from this one." And I felt so bad. And he felt so bad. Also, he ended up walking in the middle of the road just to give me space.
Shame, man.
When I got to the gate, I cried.
Sure. But I appreciate that he felt bad. But nobody can blame that experience.
Right.
And this is the experience of any female living in South Africa.
And I mean, if we were using forensic data right now in this clip, as I told that story, you would have seen my eyes started to water a bit, right? Because I'm reliving that experience. And this is what women go through. And I'm a healthcare professional, right? And I stand in the space of listening to both ends. I meet young men who say they don't want to be like their fathers. They don't understand why mom is still there. It's their biggest fear. And sometimes also they end up slipping. And it scares them because does this mean I'm a monster too? And where does this then come from? So, it really is a very complex and it really affects every single person kind of conversation.
Take us back to the stats, Thuli. How scarier does the picture get?
Okay. So I'm going to try and summarize it, but get to the things that are really standing out.
Yeah.
So first off, currently from the Bigisa data, we're sitting at 6 in 10. And of the 6 in 10, those are the ones that are murdered by their intimate partners. So you've got 4 in 10 generally, affects everyone. And of that 4, basically only 1 maybe would likely not be murdered by an intimate person that they knew. 7 women daily, statistically speaking.
7 women daily.
7 women daily. And a third of the third. Now, if you know fraction, 3 over 3 is a whole. A third of these stats are specifically coming from the Eastern Cape, Gauteng, KZN, and Western Cape interchangeably. There's a small shift between those two, but predominantly in the Eastern Cape, in the Gauteng province, and in KZN. But also what we've seen over the past 3 years, if you've been keeping up with media and journalism, is that predominantly where are the cases coming from? Eastern Cape, KZN. GP also, but mainly Eastern Cape, KZN. They compete. It's a horrible competition to be having, but it's a real life thing that's happening continuously.
Is there a reason why? I mean, why are the stats too high in these two provinces?
I cannot confirm that, but what I do know is those particular provinces are still driven by patriarchy. The cultural beliefs are still deeply ingrained that women must be obedient. They must follow a particular rule. They must follow a particular way of doing. And while there is liberation in predominant parts of those particular provinces, but there are also still sections and aspects and communities in those provinces that are still under old, patriarchal rule and.
So according to these studies and in your experience as a professional, so patriarchy plays a huge role.
A huge role
in
culture,
in
beliefs, the things that we believe about each other by gender have a huge role to play. But also we're not really we say we're flexible, but we're not really as flexible as we think we are. You could meet, let's stick with the intimate partner aspect. You could meet a partner and they're not good with cooking. This is how you met them. But in dating you, what do you expect them to do?
To start cooking.
Okay.
And then once that happens,
and then someday they decide, no, I'm tired. I had a long day at work. How do you take that?
And then you see that as an attack on your masculinity. Defiance.
The defiance. So today I says, oh, lala.
Devilish defiance. I had some devilish defiance. That's something that I tell my land just before our
right. Man just said, penduka matafula over and does it make sense? So what is that? It's the inability to accept no. It's the inability to process negative emotions, to process rejection, and understand that it's okay for a person to say no when it's not something about your ego. It's that I don't want to. I don't feel like it. Is it okay with you that I don't feel like it? And that's the issue. This is the challenge that we're facing, that there's a poor emotion regulation. And what we know, I'm going to get into my favorites now, but what we know is that unprocessed emotions create suppressed charge.
Sorry, we just need to... Unprocessed emotions create suppressed charge.
In trauma, we speak about you get charged, which is what generally is called triggered. So if we're to dissect that example, right? You wanted a meal. She's tired. She's not going to do it today. She's saying not today. Not saying I'm not going to do it at all. She's just saying not today. What you're hearing is not today. What you're hearing is, so you don't care about me. So you're disrespecting me. You expect me to do it for myself. Already, the escalation in tone. Ego starts to drive. You will not. Again, so you don't take no. Speak to me like that. You are not going to do that for me.
And we so you've touched on patriarchy, and then you've now spoken on these unregulated emotions. And I would love us to also look into other factors, if there are any,
There's quite a few.
Contribute. But on these two, there's a young man listening there.
Yeah.
And he says, dude, I will come like from deep Ilaleni Lapo, and vele, that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
That's what I've always observed, that my mom had a place. And once she acted out of place, there'll be consequences.
Yeah.
I grew up in that type of an environment. What then? Yeah.
It is because of that exposure that the young man struggles to process emotion. Because emotions weren't being processed, they were punished. Why would I feel them?
So there's an interrelation then between that so-called patriarchal experience and how I'm going to regulate my emotions tomorrow as a young person observing.
Accurate. Because also what I'm watching is how she moves.
Yeah.
How she does things. And for some, the tolerance is scary and it creates major anxiety.
Yeah.
And for others, it creates a mimicking of the behavior. So perpetuation, generational trauma being passed down, repeated conduct and behavior, again, because emotions don't get processed here. I learned something interesting recently at a medical event I was emceeing.
Yeah.
That actually, well, it's not something I didn't know, but to hear aloud, I found it was enlightening. And this is data, but we were healthcare professionals, a group of us from various aspects, from your medical, like clinical surgeries, behind the scenes, on frontline, mental health, all of us there. But this data that's currently been picked up, which is true, and I know from experience in my counseling room as well, is that, the men are depressed.
And you're right, Shame.
So chances are, I don't know this, I'm not doing the research yet, but I've always had a belief, before I get into this, I've always had a belief that men are crying. That's why I actually went into trauma work, by the way. So I specialize in trauma work specifically. I noticed the incline. It was around the 20s.
In crying men.
In crime. Because during COVID, what happened? This is when we learned how bad gender-based violence is.
Yeah.
Is it not after COVID that we started calling it femicide? But it wasn't then that it started. But it was then that it was exacerbated. Because you had nowhere else to go. Every day, I'm not processing. I don't have room to release. So doesn't that mean that perhaps, it's not accurate, but perhaps does it not mean that men feel most regulated when they're outside because they're preoccupied with other things?
Stuff,
but when they sit still, they start to hear things. And this is not insanity, but it charges them up. Because then I remember how Uma sat when Ubaba Bimshaya. And now this kid, this wife, is defying me in my home. That I work hard to build ego, right? So it kind of replays itself over and over. But what was interesting basically with the statistical perspective is that men are depressed and their depression presents as aggression. How many men do you come across that are always angry? Process emotions through aggression, depression, compressed, suppressed emotional charge.
What do you do, Emanje? You've got an Ashley. You're sitting with an Ashley here. And he represents many men who've gone through similar experiences. Now I'm locked down with my wife. Forget just being locked down. I'm just in a normal relationship. And I begin to mimic that behavior that I saw, coming up. Is there a solution for me? Is it too late to save me?
There's hope. For an Ashley that comes and says, this is what I'm doing, that's someone who wants to change, but they're struggling.
But what about young? Is it possible to have a young man that simply does not even see that this is a problem? And it hasn't even yet reached the point of taking a woman's life, but and they're already sitting with a charge in them.
Yes.
And they think that that's just normal behavior. How do we reach out to that young person in the system? So
I majored in psychology and criminology. And one of the things I learned through criminological studies is that there's crimes of opportunity. There's crimes of passion. intimate partner violence, jealousy, envy, whatever.
Yeah.
But with crimes of opportunity, it means deep down in you, now mental health kicks in. Deep down somewhere in you, you want to inflict harm. The question becomes why?
Yeah, why? That's what I'm asking myself.
Right?
I'm like, why?
Why would you want to? And it starts small, ne? Harming animals. Remember that?
I've seen Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes.
I think that, yeah.
Yes. It starts with harming animals. It starts with carelessness with living things, mimicking something suppressed emotional charge. And again, African context, we're not taught to process emotions. Weak. In fact, with Xhosa, we have a whole African proverb, super weak. You're now weakness going at it because statistically speaking, most men are committing suicide. So is it weakness to seek to get support and intervention and a community of support? Or is it weakness to remain silent and be dying literally, silently so and taking everybody else with you? You're now weakness, yape.
Sure.
So it matters
so
for the young man.
We need to redefine what weakness is.
You definitely. And so that's why men going for mental health care intervention, and every time I see and I come across a healthcare professional that's a man, I'm like, yay, there's hope, because representation matters. We need that representation, but I've also found that most men actually prefer female therapists. It's interchangeable. My belief is that through different seasons of our lives, we need different types of therapy. So in an earlier phase where I'm nurturing my wounds, perhaps a nurturing female might be a better representation for my mind to process. But when I'm dealing with the depths of things, I could work with a man because he gets it. Like he gets the aggression, he gets that kind of a thing. But when I'm looking to heal and be well, I'd rather work with the female. And I encourage that. I encourage trying different types and styles of, psychotherapeutic approaches. But more than anything, as men, you really need to learn to process and understand that emotions are not weapons. They're actually tools. But if you do not process them, they can become weapons against you first and also around everybody else. Because whatever you're not processing, you're actually carrying with you and you're spreading to the whole world around you.
And good people, please be sure to reach out to our guest. Is a young man who is watching this. There's hope for you. Perhaps you're learning for the first time, you're listening to this conversation and you can resonate with some of these things, which perhaps you may have been ignoring in your own personal life and did not think that they are as serious as others may think them to be. But you're listening to us today and you're thinking, there's something that I really need to look into, or I need to dive deeper into my own upbringing and how to go about in regulating my emotions. Please reach out to Thuli. And we appreciate that not all of you may be able to afford, to see a specialist and pay those monies. We're going to be on the lookout. We'll see what other, government bodies or helplines that we can share, and then we'll put the numbers down below. But please, Bafetu, let's not die on our own. There's hope. And when I say let's not die on our own, what I mean is taking the life of a female, if you think deeply about it, is taking your own life. And really, these things only become so evident, when it's too late. And we don't want anybody getting to that stage. Not if, as 230 Conversations, we can make a difference much earlier on. Thuli, I want us to look into other factors. So we've looked at patriarchy, we've looked at emotion regulation. But maybe before we do, let me ask you a question. When we speak about the seeing a man or seeing a female counselor or therapist, do you think that this conversation would have been more relatable and impactful for a young man if I had a man sitting in your chair?
Would it?
Or would it depend again? Because you spoke about healing and then you spoke about, understanding of aggression and what's not.
Exactly. I believe that a male voice does need to come forth. And there are male counselors who are interested and invested in healing and dealing through these kind of things. They exist. But I find the problem we have as a society and why we're struggling to process is because the women are trying to defend themselves and they're the victims.
Yeah.
And the men are defending themselves to say, but it's not all of us. But here's the thing, it's affecting all of us. And what we need is this, a fair representation of all.
Yeah.
Right? A fair representation of all. And notice, as I mentioned, it says it's the female representation, feminine, because also we've got a broader community. We've got the LGBTQIA plus community aspect as well. So it's, one of the things that the stats also mentioned is that there's a rise that's been picked up as part of contributing factors around people who present as feminine, whether it's, transgender or a transformation or anything along those lines. And so it's basically where there's female, feminine, whether by gender, by choice, by representation. In and of female, it seems to be irritating. That's what we're seeing, right? It seems to be irritating to the male species. And so, shoot.
Sure.
So, and I want us to, with these stats, I don't want us to skip this.
Yeah.
It's indicated that the rates of intimate femicide by race for women 14 years and older, by rape, for women 14 years and older, it says that it was white predominantly, followed by colored, followed by Indian, followed by African, followed by an overall, which means just about
14 and older rape, ne?
Yeah. 14 years and older. Rates of intimate femicide by race for women, 14 years and older. And these are stats from 1999. This is like a broader thing. So this is what was happening in 1999 in our society. And then it goes to say relationship status in intimate femicide cases, cohabiting partner, 50%. Basically.
And are you saying that there's a 50% chance that if you are cohabiting, in that setup, there's a 50% chance that the female is going to be murdered by her own partner? 50%.
That's what it's saying. In 99.
Oh, in 99.
We know now in 2025. Obviously, it's worse now. Statistically speaking, how often do you hear about a murder just by a stranger? I'm not saying they don't happen, but how often? Which do you hear more of?
It's always an intimate partner.
When we speak rape, who usually tends to be the perpetrators? It's not always a cousin.
It's always
the one that really just gets to me the most is the biological father. Like what?
Oh yeah. Yo.
Yeah.
But society is so sick, eh? And there's a rise in that. Yeah.
It genuinely is a sickness that you can see an infant. See a 6-month-old in changing their nappy, crime of opportunity, in changing a child's nappy and be aroused.
Yeah.
A 6-year-old, a 14-year-old.
This is demonic, Buffett.
It definitely borders on it. I wouldn't put it past it.
Yeah.
Because this is not natural and normal behavior. We are not meant by design to be murdering and inflicting harm. Have you ever been in an experience, growing up where you've kicked a dog?
And in
right? It hurts. How much more klaba? Multiple stab wounds in a human flesh.
And this
how
is
that
life.
normal?
This is a life. Your DNA is never going to be like mine. That fingerprint is gone. Like there's never going to be another Thuli.
Right.
And this brother sees absolutely nothing wrong with bringing an end to that life. And in a cohabiting setup, there's a 50% likelihood that is going to happen.
To a point where then they attempt on their own life. Usually flimsy attempts. A few ultimately succeed. But thereafter, if I can't have you, nobody else can.
The case that trended a lot.
Right? Like what makes you think, I grew up in my own home, you growing up in your own home.
Dude. Like I can't
So my question to you actually on that is, what is it about women, perhaps, that men are clinging onto so much that literally I can't live and breathe without you?
Yo, and it's a deeper problem. And now, I'm just going to hang on to the stuff that you've thus far shared. The society that we're coming from as men, as well as the failure to regulate our emotion. Mhlambe, you will also touch on it when you speak about the other factors. We have this thing as a machita, growing up, there's no room for so-called weakness. And your strength is almost determined by how ill you can, how best you can ill-treat a lady. Even eskolweni, objectify a woman.
There we are. On that note, I love what you just said, because isn't this what that bullying is in schools?
Yeah.
What was it? It was called. What was it called when we were younger? They named it. Was called something else, where the grade 12s bullied the grade 8s. Forgetting the name now, but there was a term for it. But unyansile that. So we've initiation.
Yeah.
We've normalized in so doing, and how many years of that to date? Yeah. It's starting to be banned, but it's not being banned fast enough, really, right? But how many? So what we've said, what we've taught, and what we've conditioned the male mind to understand is that the more pain you can inflict on the weak, the more powerful you are.
This doesn't make any sense.
So we've taught this in early childhood. And then we wonder why we have men like this. What do you mean? Why are we wondering? Isn't this what you taught them? And what do you think it teaches the grade 8s? Small weak. So they grow constantly looking to become a worse version than the matriculant that did it to them. So that when they're matric, they do it 10 times worse, to a point where have young people not been killing themselves, suicide, over being bullied in schools? A 7-year-old raping a 9-year-old, what is that?
Yeah.
Where are these kids getting this from? It's us. City, Bhagat. It's us. It's the media, the unmanaged exposure to media is the issue. Yeah. Because children are being exposed to sex very early. They are seeing things, and also just the lack of discretion, man. There's no... We call it sharing, but as in really, the kids don't need to see.
Yeah.
Keep it neat. Yes, you want them to see a loving and a good home, but keep it neat. Don't let children should be hearing voices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's that ignorance of not being considerate of that young mind being pre-exposed to things that they don't fully comprehend. And so we have children committing juvenile and delinquent conduct and behaviors beyond their years that they don't even understand the consequences for. But the law has something for that, right? These youth, about Boys Town, Girls Town, which over the years have actually struggled, and most of them have actually been phased out. But about Girls Town, Boys Town were for conduct like this. So what the law says is that if you are underage and you commit a murder, we'll wait until you are legal. You are still liable for that particular behavior. And our thing is, we're having young people who go around stabbing about teacher.
Yeah.
Usually what gender is the teacher? Okay.
Female. Yeah. And when you talk about, there's just something ringing in my mind right now, ne? When you speak about exposure and, discretion and protecting the young. I remember the first time that I watched porn, first time ever in my life, was after I had heard about it during one of our school lessons, where they were warning us about the dangers of pornography.
Yeah.
But before then, I actually didn't even know what pornography was. Like, I had no idea whatsoever. And then after hearing it from a teacher who is warning us about the dangers of pornography, now something in me was like, what is this thing? And what is it talking? What am I being warned against? Let me go and check it out.
Yeah.
We don't have that, and I know someone say, no, it's education and what's or not.
Yeah.
I think there are certain things that whether through formal education or exposure in the household, I think there's a lot that parents can do to shield abantwana and create better men as well. I don't know what your take is on that.
So it's complicated. So I'm sitting as a healthcare I have a healthcare professional view, and I have a personal view. So I'm sitting as a healthcare professional. I'll give the professional view, which is that the reason the education started in the schools is because of what was happening in communities. And the intent was to prevent and minimize teen pregnancy. What we've seen is it helped in some spaces, it exposed in other spaces. So when you then mention a relevant aspect of, but it's not supposed to be just the school.
Yeah.
But we don't have these conversations. So kowenu uzawubuya uthi, "Yo, ndivune ngephone namhlanje." Bakufaka impama. So uzawuhamba uyoyifunda phi? One thing about them gangster videos growing up, right? Them rap videos. Bums were out all the time. Everywhere, G-strings all day, every day. You
women
see everything.
And a woman is an object. That's all you see there. That's what you learn from. A woman is an object. Then you see it in
and
your
then what does
household.
your uncle do growing up? He sees a woman passing a flate. It's a pity it was a flate. A flate. What are you learning?
We even have a thing for it. That's the flate. It's as if we all went to the same school to learn it. Because you go whatever province you get to.
Right.
Once you give that flate, everybody knows it. That's what it means.
And then the moment the woman then says, "Don't you dare talk to me like that." But what did you just do? Did you not? You did whatever you did. So the fact that I'm trying to defend myself and I'm speaking against what you're doing, now you're mad. Poor emotional intelligence.
Fun. We can spend a whole lot.
We can.
Any other factors that we should be looking at?
Okay. Something else that I found quite interesting is that the percentage age of the type of homicide, so basically the age groups of the people who were being, victims to this, is predominantly between 20 to 39. But this is also the perpetrator age as well. Predominantly, it was between the ages of 20 to 29 to 30 to 39, and then the other ages are slightly big, or 40 to 49. They are not that common in this, but predominantly it's mainly the 20 to 39 group. Ayo youth le?
That's very much
youth le, youth endala. Sit. Then, another important one, then we wrap up the stats business, is that the perpetrator race by type of female homicide, non-intimate partner, predominantly African, intimate partner, predominantly African. SA population, predominantly African. Doesn't it take us back to Eastern Cape, KZN?
Yeah, KZN, yeah.
Right. Followed then by colored. I get it, Western Cape was sitting there by number 3, somewhere there. Okay. Followed by colored, followed by white, followed by Indian, and then the rest of the data. But basically, all of this information from 1999 up to where we are now in 2025, 2025 stats don't exist yet, by the way. They're still probably contemplating by end of year. We'll probably have something early next year. But the last data that was released is around 2023, basically 2020, 2023, somewhere there. But what the data keeps showing, though, is that it's us, guys, who are the biggest perpetrators. But, in a chat with my fellow, healthcare professionals and peers, what we were saying is also, but even in crime, who is it? It's us. Yeah. So, yes, we're talking femicide now, but generally in crime, in criminal work, it's us in the forefront. And from a socioeconomic perspective, you did crime because you were bored.
Sure.
So Enaki boredom says I'm bored. But generally, statistically speaking, with HIV and AIDS, boredom has led to high sexual behavior. Do you see? So socioeconomics seem to contribute to this, but it can't just be that. More than anything, I strongly believe it's mainly the belief systems that we hold, what we believe of people, women, females in general. And the culture has a lot to do with this, and so does religion. Because we also went through years, and I mean, the movies that are portrayed today kind of reflect that as well. But, where there was this, a woman, regardless, and it was predominantly, these are white people in the movies, right? Predominantly, the women were expected to just submit, do whatever he says, don't argue, don't debate, don't stand up, say nothing.
Sure.
Then Eastern Cape, so kwazi uthula sana. Kwazi nje uthula. So and the thing is, the more sithetha kuthiwa yilento sifa. This is what we see on TikTok.
Yeah.
When we're talking about these issues, this is the response that men are saying, because Ted, what are we back to? Poor emotional intelligence. The inability to process rejection, the inability to accept and know.
Yeah.
That someone else can have a view that's opposed to yours and it doesn't demean you. It doesn't make you less than.
I hope Slalele Machita, because somebody does not agree with you, does not mean that you are less of a human being. You cannot always be right, Buffett. You cannot always be the one with the reasonable opinion in your relationship. Otherwise, it ceases to be a relationship. A relationship requires two parties to participate.
Exactly.
So it cannot always be you. If you want to hear your voice and hear yourself always being right, don't date. Buy a cell phone, record yourself, replay that audio and keep listening to yourself. And if you're not happy with what you are hearing, you can break the phone until you find professional help on how to deal with your anger issues. But no human being should ever be subjected to that. And I want to ask Thuli a very unfair question, but I'm going to ask it nonetheless because that's where we are right now. I don't think it's a question that we should be asking, but that's we just here now. And it becomes even the more unfair because there's just a recent incident that we learned about Olirato. She did everything right. She did everything, sent the location, put in, whatever safety mechanisms. And yet today we speak about her in the past tense. And I still want to ask you, what can our sisters do to protect themselves?
That's the problem. That question is the problem.
And you see, and that's why I say
the question is the problem.
School me again.
The question is the problem because what are you expecting the victim to do?
Yeah. And let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
What are you expecting the victim to do? Because another thing that we have, and I'm going to move the question again to maybe move it away from our sisters, because I agree with you that it's a problematic question.
Yeah.
We have touched on what a young man can do who is listening. I've actually been involved in a very interesting program that we participated, and my good friend Mali here behind the cameras was also there. We flew down to Cape Town. We got some sponsorship. It was just a young man.
Yeah.
And we brought in
beautiful,
thought leaders of men, and we were engaging there with these young guys from different environments, trying to shape them into better men, which also shapes us as well, who were invited.
Absolutely.
But then
well done for that.
Corporate, what else can corporate do? Because another problem that I've seen, and tell me if I'm wrong again.
Answer is probably no, you're not wrong, but ask.
We see people marching, corporate through their CSI initiatives, which I'm not even sure that they even know what is happening on the ground. They'll fund these NGOs. The NGOs get victims. They give them placards, get the victims to go and march.
Yeah.
There's no perpetrators there. It's the victims that are going and they are marching. Or they are funding influencers to post on Instagram and, stop gender-based violence. Yes, I know some of the perpetrators are there. They are on these social media platforms. Are those things effective? Do they have impact? Tell me, I'm saying it wrong. When
are they effective?
100 women
I think
marching?
Because a message is sent across. Are they impactful? ? And the thing is, the perpetrator looks like you. They are decent. Yeah. They are living their best life. They are the members of society who do good things, but after hours, Benzan.
Monsters.
Narcissists predominantly are said to be, they give a great presentation externally.
Yeah.
And this is not only just something said to be, it is
that's what happens.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, that beautiful couple, but they're so amazing. I-church body ihlala because Ashley ubethe unokuthu. Hayibo. Ashley, the other day. Oh.
Yeah.
Let's bring it home. Let's say how you put there. Just in our own little communities. And what do we do to the women that come out? This is the things that we ask. So we're also a society that's under the belief that you punish.
Yeah.
You punish. And we're a society that says it's okay. I remember earlier years, before the trauma work, learning, I've done gender-based violence trainings twice in my life, and I'm probably going to do it again over and over and over. But I remember we worked in a community, and, we were trained, we were sitting in this hotel, we were there, now we must go into unpack, let's see, application, because they were also statistically gathering. This was the Department of Women. It's the first time I even heard about them. I didn't know there was a department for women in the country. We have a department of women. And so from this department, we're groomed and we're taken into society. Not only was it cool because being because it predominantly ends up as lalin.
Yeah.
Sit down, by the way, something you are not forgotten. Right?
Yeah.
About Hyde Park,
Behind
waterfall.
those huge walls.
Huh? So we're not forgetting those particular places, but we were some Pakatines Lalini, and we're having this conversation, and some of the men were starting to reform, but the women, some was like, no, but I got betu because when I don't learn about mama betu. That was shocking and heartbreaking because we did groups. All of us were split to deal with them in pairs, in groups.
Yeah.
And this is their thinking. There's a genuine, trauma changes you. I want to bring that out. Trauma alters brain chemistry. You could have been going this direction, trauma happens, and you go this direction. Because it alters brain chemistry. Literally, the brain cells in your mind change to be wired to adapt and survive. And so instead of arguing all the time, which keeps getting me beaten, okay. When people ask, no, he loves me. What are you talking about? But the body language tells everything. So one of the things I always teach my clients is understanding your nervous system, because the body knows whatever you think you're trying to keep quiet. The body will never lie. You can easily tell someone who's struggling with being abused by how they stand beside their partner and where their eyes are. Their body language cannot lie. Umuntu osabayo is not going to be comfortable standing next to the particular person. They can endure them because sendilapha. And you know why they stay? Because there's also this question around, but when I was born here, it's multi-layered. It's multi-layered because they often are taken away from their community. They are excluded. You put them aside. Oh, but doesn't the Bible and the church and your family, isn't the belief that to your husband? So why do you keep going home? So now family and friends out. Whatever he wants. But when upper Portland.
Sure.
Right? And he says he's watering you, Mara. It's a ulume vutela, so to speak, right? Akbete, yabona man, yabona ndenza ntoni? Yabona lento yakho. Ungaphindi namelo hlobo man. Askise, then tomorrow
you're the one.
Flowers. She's like, no, it was a mistake. He didn't mean to. And he doesn't mean to, and he doesn't mean to, and he doesn't mean to, and it's a broken leg, and you're in hospital, and you.
Yes, I'm repairing you. You remind me one of the stories that we interviewed as well.
Yes, I saw. Pure. Yeah. So one of the things I've learned in this work, because I also work with young people in academic spaces, there's an organization, damn Trump. But there's an organization that, I'm forgetting their name now. We work with VITS. I'm forgetting their name now, but they work with VITS. What we'll do is
we'll find out. So if we
find
get
the name when I remember, please. They were amazing. They would do trainings on gender-based violence awareness. And I learned from them something called TTA. TTA. Target, tactic, attack. That's how perpetrators pursue people. Target you. Research, and what they found, real time, when basebenza ko Alex, basebenza everywhere. They know this is like real time data. What they found is that the belief is that Umdozo is the one wearing his kindi. It's not. It's someone dressed up as much as I am. Target.
Okay.
Because it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Because it's a power dynamic. Dominance. What's the fight if already like you? Boring. Back to? But why that? Which takes us back to the conversation we also had around, but what are you taught in school? Be a bully. Be dominant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So target. Tactic.
Tactic, yeah.
Fagin bama. Hi, Baban Zandoni. Hi, Mansoor. Watch.
Oh,
They're
but I wanted that.
watching you. What do you do about it? Am I going to see you again tomorrow? Do you stay? And then they try something worse. And they try something worse. They are testing you to make sure and see how far they can go with you. Did you tell your family? Yeah. Oh, easy target. And then they're grooming you. Then they attack. Then a big one happens. But as you has but they've been mentally, they've been working you.
Sure.
And then they keep you here. And I hate to say this, almost like a pet. Because it appeases them back to mind. Because why is this okay? Somewhere in them, it appeases them to see you shrink and be so small. There's a satisfaction that they get. Sociopaths, psychopaths, but also wounded men.
Buffett, I've done a great deal of learning today.
Yeah.
It's been a very, very painful conversation to have.
It really is.
I would not have wanted to sit at this table, but we need to talk about these things. And as 2:30, we're going to play our little role, to assisting in building better men. And we call upon you. You are out there somewhere. You are in need of help. You wish to engage even further. Please reach out to us.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do to help each other as gents. We've got professionals that we interact with that we can refer you to. But let's not form part of these statistics. I think we certainly can be better men to the benefit of our sisters. One of the things we're going to discuss, and which I wanted to ask Thuli, is, are you scared of men? And maybe as she wraps up and gives us her final shots, she's going to give me a response to that. But that's where we are today.
Yeah.
Our sisters live in fear of us, and we cannot operate that way. We understand that, people are frustrated with the legal system. Our women have tried to get protection orders, the very same protection orders that were meant to protect them, then accelerated their demise. I think it's about time that we come together as a machita and start making, we're not here to cause big waves, but just that small little drop in the ocean. Big waves. But it has to start somewhere. So we hope to cause those big waves, but a wave will start with a drop. A drop will cause those ripple effects. And let's start off there. And let's, start building a community of men that hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
Men that redefine what weakness is. Men that know how to regulate their emotions. Men who, though we are cognizant of our upbringing and our backgrounds, those are not what determine who we are going to be tomorrow. So let's come together and begin to create that community. I've got some amazing people behind the camera. It's been an interesting discussion. I don't know if you guys want to ask or, say something grand. Kanye, are you okay there at the back? Mali says he's fine. And so does Brother Ben. Thuli, it's been a pleasure having you. And I know that we've touched on a whole lot of things that in and of themselves, if we sort of took them out, they're just topics on their own. But in the small space, we've tried our level best. And I pray that somebody learns something from this platform and then becomes a better person through having listened to you, taking your time out for free, by the way. She's not charging us to be here. She gets paid to do what she's just done for us here. So we really, really appreciate that. So I don't know if you do have any concluding remarks that you wish to share.
Yes. My plea is that as a man, you can tell you don't feel okay. You can tell that you're not happy with you. You're not happy with how you think, with how you're moving. Reach out. Reach out. We are here to help support you. And even perpetrators require rehabilitation and support. I'm sorry to the victims for saying that, but it's true. They too need to be rehabilitated and worked with and worked on to help them undo this behavior, because it's not normal. It's not normal. It's not okay. So please, as a man, I'm pleading with you to consider trying. Try it, okay? Let's maybe not go all the way into commitment, but let's try. Try therapy. At least 3-4 sessions, and you can try again another year later because maybe that person didn't really click for you. And that's an important thing, by the way, that people need to know around therapy.
Yeah.
You must click with your therapist. It's okay. I've met, I've gone through sessions where I'm like, And I'm a tough one to go to therapy also. I'll fight.
Yeah.
Therapists are not great people to go to therapy, but we need it too. So I do go.
Yeah.
But I'm a fighter. Like I'm a fighter. I already know what you're going to do. So I need someone who's like 10 times better than me. And I'm always upskilling.
Yeah.
So that takes a minute. But I've met quite an amazing group of people. But my gist is we need to work on our minds, ne? Because from the mind, we start to act. And these emotions that you keep trying to avoid, they are becoming weapons formed against you. Think of it like a volcano, constantly erupting every day. Every day we're now a volcano erupting because you refuse to acknowledge that you're a human being who has feelings. You feel pain, you feel hurt, and you feel anger. But there's healthier ways to process it. So please reach out and ask for help. And communities of support, men, I love what you just said. Male support groups are important.
Yeah.
Resilience in society is established when we come together. Weakness is sitting in isolation.
Yeah. Thuli, thank you so much. And I must say, just to speak to what she's saying, I attend therapy buffet, and I thought it's something that I don't need the thing.
Yeah.
I'm an African. Even when I was going in the first, I was like, what could they possibly tell me? Man, you learn that your brain is just something else. And, people are trained to help you navigate around that, your mind.
You, man. Love that.
Bafethu Seyivala manje, thank you so much for joining us, 230 Conversations. Like I said, we're going to be very consistent with this podcast. So please be on the lookout. We're going to be having more guests coming through. Our next drive is on the 28th of November, 2025. We'll let you know where it's going to be, but it will be another informal settlement. We had an amazing, amazing time at Kliptown. Over 2,000 people were in attendance. Over 2,000 people were in attendance. The kids alone were close to 1,000, which was amazing. Our sponsors, Meals on Wheels, UG's, Great Hope, and all the companies, the individuals that are sponsoring us, we greatly appreciate. And may God richly, richly bless you. Like we say, guys, the merchandise is growing by the day. So now we've got the bucket hats. We've got beanies. We've got 230 Conversations beanies. The hoodies are still there. The t-shirts, we've got long sleeves. I would have shown you some long sleeves that we've got. We've got aprons. We've got something else. Binifa yamachita or something. There's something else yamachita. You will look nice. Sometimes you might find that your relationship is not going well because you don't have a 230 Conversations apron.
True.
Get yourself a 230 Conversations apron. We've got jumpsuits as well, Buffett. Like we're going all out with this merchandise thing. Key rings, key holders, each and every bit of merchandise that is bought, that money is directed towards the communities that we go and visit. That's how we feed them, that's how we clothe them, that's how we get them blankets. So please keep on supporting us. We also have an Olympiad that is coming up. It's hosted by the NCSA, but we're going to be participating there as 230 Conversations. So please come through, wear your regalia. It's only 20 Rand, and I think it is on the 17th of August. But I'll double check that date and we'll put the correct date in the description below. Thank you so much. May God richly bless you. Masivale ngumthandazo.
Please.
Awusithandazele.
Hayi njani?
Please pray for us, Thuli.
All right. Bawethu samazulwini. Siyakubulela mzali ngentando yakho nothando lwakho kuthi. Siyakubonga ke mzali ngokuthi sikwazi ukumanyana ngelixesha. Sikwazi ukuthetha mesiyalungileyo ngezi zinto zihlukumeza umphakathi wethu. Siyacela wena ke Nkosi yami ungavuthizisa umoya wakho engcwele ufikelele ezinhlizweni zethu kuye wonke umuntu othi amamele ke mesiyalungileyo lencoko nathi Nkosi yami mhlala usomeleza usipha ubulumko mesiyalungileyo ba singasebenzisa kanjani sisebenza nengqondo zethu nezikills zethu kuzo zonke ke as professions that we have, trying to work in supporting and enabling and empowering and healing the nation and our community mesiyalungileyo. We're also so grateful ke kana njalo ke mzali nge 230 Conversations, because it's conversations like these that make sure that the engagements that we're having in and outside of the church are very relatable and very real. Yange ke mesiyolungile umoya wakho engcwele ungaphephezela ke Nkosi yami emakhayeni kube nokuthula kube noxolo uphileke kamandi. Zonke sicela kuwe Nkosi yami sikuthemba ukuthi wena uyasenzela egameni lelo wasifela enqamuzweni Yesu Kristu Nkosi yethu.
Amen.
This is Femicide music.